Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump's West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff meets Israeli hostage families in Tel Aviv, says working on a plan to end Gaza conflict. Philippines President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to begin 5-day state visit to India from August 4. Visit coincides with 75th anniversary of India-Philippines diplomatic relations. And in Jammu and Kashmir, anti-terror operation continues in Akhal Devsar area of Kulgam district. 3 terrorists neutralized so far. US envoy Steve Witkoff met anguished relatives of Israeli hostages in Tel Aviv on Saturday, nearly 22 months after Hamas's October 2023 attack sparked the ongoing Gaza conflict. Amid chants of bring them home, Witkoff pledged to work with US President Donald Trump on a plan to end the war, along with securing the release of 49 remaining hostages, 27 of whom are presumed dead as per the Israeli military. Hamas has intensified pressure, releasing a video showing emancipated hostage Aviatar David, prompting his family to denounce their starvation tactics. Meanwhile, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has denounced the despicable Hamas and Islamic Jihad videos showing malnourished hostages, demanding their unconditional release and Hamas's disarmament. While international mediators, including the US, Egypt and Qatar, face stalled ceasefire talks.
Meeting with Mr. Steve Witkoff. It was very positive and appreciated that the fact that he sat with the families for over 2 hours, listening to every personal story and hearing each individual request, and he answered the last question and didn't go until then. He talked about what is the objective. The objective are 2 things: ending the war and getting all the 50 hostages out.
We spoke about the deal that is going to be all or nothing. We told him that nothing is not open for us. We said to him that it must be all of them immediately. All the things that the matter things is actually the time. The matter of time is all the question. We saw our children are starving. We saw him there in the captivities. They will not be survive too much. It means that we have to make pressure by the government of the United States to make pressure not to stop until it's going to be done.
Meanwhile, thousands rallied at Tel Aviv's Hostages Square, urging Israeli government to end the Gaza conflict and secure the release of 49 hostages. Videos released by Hamas and Islamic Jihad showed hostages Aviatar David and Rom Blaslavsky in dire health, sparking outrage. Hamas has dismissed reports that it expressed willingness to disarm during Gaza ceasefire negotiations with Israel, affirming its national and legal right to resistance against Israeli occupation. The Palestinian group issued a statement in response to comments allegedly made by United States President Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, during a meeting with relatives of Israeli captives held in Gaza. Citing a recording of their conversation, Israeli outlet Haaretz reported that the US envoy told the families that Hamas was prepared to be demilitarized. However, Hamas firmly denied the claim. Updates from Russia-Ukraine conflict now, as Ukraine launched a drone strike over Russian city of Sochi, prompting more than 120 firefighters to extinguish a blaze at an oil depot with a capacity of 2,000 cubic meters. The Russian Defense Ministry said that it destroyed 93 Ukrainian drones overnight, while Russia's Civil Aviation Authority temporarily halted flights at Sochi's airport, but now have been resumed. On Sunday, 4 people were injured in another Ukrainian drone strike that caused several fires in southern Russia. 18 drones were destroyed over the Voronezh region by Russian air defense units. Meanwhile, Russia launched a missile attack on Kiev early on Sunday. The International Atomic Energy Agency has said that its team at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant heard explosions and saw smoke coming from a nearby location. They said one of its auxiliary facilities was attacked. Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies, National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office uncovered a major graft scheme involving military drones and signal jamming systems purchased at inflated prices just days after their independence was restored last week following massive protests. The scheme implicated a sitting lawmaker to local officials and National Guard personnel who took bribes up to 30% of contract costs. 4 arrests were made. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, reversing his earlier attempt to control the agencies, praised their autonomy, vital for Ukraine's EU membership bid. The protests, the largest since the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022, forced Zelensky's policy U-turn, earning praise from European allies.
A serious Russian agent in the Air Force was exposed, as well as a former official of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine who tried to make money from the purchase of food for our army.
US officials have opened an investigation into Jack Smith, the former special counsel who led 2 federal criminal cases against President Donald Trump. The Office of Special Counsel told the New York Times on Saturday that it was investigating Smith for potentially violating the Hatch Act, which prohibits federal workers from engaging in political activity while on the job. Republican Senator Tom Cotton had reportedly asked the agency to investigate whether Smith's actions had been designed to influence the 2024 election. Smith was appointed special counsel in 2022 and charged Trump with plotting to overturn the results of the 2020 election and mishandling classified documents after leaving the White House. Trump denied both charges and sought to frame them as politically motivated, accusing the Justice Department of being weaponized against him. The Smithsonian Institution removed a placard detailing US President Donald Trump's 2 impeachments from the National Museum of American History, clarifying on this Saturday that the decision was not due to White House pressure. The temporary placard, which outlined Trump's 2019 and 2021 impeachments, was removed for not meeting exhibit standards and obstructing display views. The Smithsonian denied external influence, despite reports of a content review following White House actions. Trump, the only US president impeached twice, has pushed to reshape cultural institutions. The museum plans to update the exhibit to comprehensively reflect all US impeachment proceedings in the coming weeks. The US Senate on Saturday confirmed Jeanine Pirro, former Fox News host, as U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia in a 50-45 vote. The 74-year-old, praised by President Donald Trump as exceptional, transitioned from hosting justice with Judge Jeanine to a key judicial role. Her appointment, alongside other media figures like Pete Hegseth and Sean Duffy, reflects Trump's preferences for loyalists. Critiques, including Senator Dick Durbin, criticized her for promoting 2020 election conspiracies, citing her involvement in a settled $800 million defamation lawsuit. Pirro's confirmation highlights Trump's influence in reshaping government with trusted allies. Protesters marched the streets of Los Angeles on Saturday as part of nationwide protest called Rage Against the Regime. The protest was organized by a 50-51 movement, a group against President Trump's policies. The name 50-51 stands for 50 protests, 50 states, 1 movement. The group has been active since US President Donald Trump took office, leading events under slogans like "Hands off" and "No Kings." Saturday's protest focused on opposing Trump's actions on immigration, mass deportations and federal budget cuts. Similar rallies were planned in about 350 cities across the United States. And Brazilian police raided the residence and political office of former President Jair Bolsonaro early Friday, enforcing strict legal measures, including fitting him with an electronic ankle monitor over concerns of his attempting to flee the country. Bolsonaro is currently facing trial for allegedly plotting to overturn Brazil's 2022 presidential election. As per media reports, Bolsonaro was also banned from using social media and prohibited from contacting foreign diplomats or visiting embassies. Bolsonaro, who lost to President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, however, has denied any wrongdoing. Friday's raid followed reports that Trump attempted to pressure Lula into halting Bolsonaro's prosecution by threatening Brazil with severe tariffs. A week after those threats, the US launched a formal probe into Brazil's trade practices. Despite previously downplaying concerns that he might flee, in fact, Bolsonaro now faces 5 criminal charges along with 33 others. If convicted, he could serve over 40 years in prison. With less than 3 weeks before the general elections in Bolivia, supporters of former Bolivian President Evo Morales have launched a campaign for null votes. Morales' exclusion from the ballot has sparked protests, with campaign offices established to promote null voting as a form of resistance. The campaign highlights divisions within Bolivia's left, as Morales' supporters aim to disrupt an election that, for the first time in nearly 3 decades, will proceed without his presence. The election in Bolivia is set for August 17. The Krasheninnikov volcano on Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula has erupted for the first time in approximately 600 years, sending ash plumes up to 6,000 meters high. According to the Kamchatka Volcanic Eruption Response Team, the eruption may be linked to a massive earthquake that struck the region last week, triggering tsunami warnings as far away as French Polynesia and Chile. The team said that Krasheninnikov's last lava effusion took place on 1463 plus minus 40 years, and no eruption has been known since. The eruption has been assigned an orange aviation code indicating a heightened risk to aircraft. The Dragon Bravo fire in Coconino County, Arizona has scorched over 112,341 acres of land, with containment at just 11% as of Saturday afternoon. The fire, sparked by lightning, has prompted mandatory evacuations and threatened nearby communities, including the North Rim area of Grand Canyon. Despite efforts, the blaze has destroyed iconic structures like the historic Grand Canyon Lodge. At the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President of Philippines Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will pay a state visit to India from 4th to 8th of August. He will be accompanied by First Lady Madam Luis Aranita Marcos and a high-level delegation including several cabinet ministers, other dignitaries and senior officials, in addition to business representatives. This would be the first visit of President Marcos to India since assumption of office of the President of the Philippines. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi and President Marcos are scheduled to hold bilateral discussions. President Marcos will also be meeting his Indian counterpart, Draupadi Murmu. Both countries have since developed a strong partnership across a wide spectrum of areas, including trade and investment, defense and security, maritime cooperation, agriculture, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and digital technologies. Well, let's see what's happening around the world. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered on the outskirts of Rome, Italy, for a Sunday Mass led by Pope Leo. The youths came from over 146 countries for a week of events as part of the ongoing Catholic Holy Year. Pope Leo was elected on May 8th. This year's event is expecting 500,000 young people and will be the largest event yet of his 3-month papacy. People battled intense heat in Asakusa district of Kyoto, Japan on Sunday as temperatures hit 36.1 degrees Celsius. Crowd used small portable fans and parasols to prevent the summer heat. Japan experienced its hottest July for the 3rd year in a row. Several towns in eastern Australia were blanketed with, in fact, thick snow as wild weather swept the area this weekend, causing floods, stranding vehicles and cutting power to thousands of homes. Parts of New England Northwest region received their deepest snow in 20 years, while Queensland had its first snow in 10 years. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. OPEC Plus alliance expected to hike oil production. Meeting for the same expected at 1100 GMT. You stay tuned to know more about it. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav highlights India's economic growth. What he exactly says, stay with us. Amarnath Yatra suspended a week before its scheduled conclusion.
The future always starts now. Some people choose to seize that moment and shape what comes next. This episode is to remind us that impact doesn't always have to be loud to be powerful.
We realized that if women became involved in decision making and generated income, the whole family would benefit, and women would be involved in this way.
By collecting waste, the city's garbage is considerably reduced. We select what's needed, sort it by quality, and sell it. This is how much of the plastic ends up recycled. If this stops someday, the traffic will come to a standstill.
We aim to ensure animals can return to the wild. If they came to me for food, that wouldn't happen.
You're watching DD India Live. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Saudi Arabia, Russia and 6 other key members of the OPEC Plus alliance are expected to further hike oil production in a meeting on Sunday. A move, analysts say, is aimed at regaining market share amid resilient crude prices. The anticipated output increase by the group of 8 oil-producing countries, known as the Voluntary 8, would be the latest in a series of hikes that began in April. In a bid to boost prices, the wider OPEC Plus group, comprising the 12-nation OPEC and its allies in recent years, had agreed to 3 different tranches of output cuts that amounted to almost 6 million barrels per day in total. Since April, the V8 group has placed increased focus on regaining market share over price stability, a policy shift after years of enforcing production cuts to prop up prices. Saudi Arabia, the group's most influential member, relies heavily on oil revenues to finance its ambitious plan aimed at diversifying the economy. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has highlighted India's economic ascent, citing the IMF's World Economic Outlook. India's GDP growth is projected at 6.4% for 2025-26, outpacing the US, which is at 2%, and China, which is at 4.8%, solidifying its status as the fastest growing major economy. The IMF data released July 2025 reflects India's fiscal year, with growth forecasts at 6.7% for 2024 and 6.4% for 2026. Vaishnav emphasized this milestone amid global economic shifts, boosting India's global economic narrative. In a major push toward regional development and fulfill long-standing public demands, Indian Railways today launched 3 new express train services from Bhavnagar, Gujarat. The inauguration was led by Union Minister for Railways and Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav during his visit to Gujarat's Bhavnagar, accompanied by Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports Dr. Mansukh Mandavia. The new services aimed at improving interstate travel and boosting economic ties between Gujarat and other regions of India. The newly inaugurated trains include Bhavnagar to Ayodhya, Rewa to Pune and Jabalpur to Raipur. These services are expected to significantly ease travel for pilgrims, students and professionals, while also strengthening trade and tourism links.
बात है कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के बहुत बड़े विजन के साथ रेलवे में एक बड़ा परिवर्तन हो रहा है। नई पटरियां बन रही है, नई तरह की ट्रेन्स आ रही हैं। ट्रेन को साफ रखना, स्टेशन को साफ रखना, नए स्टेशन बनाना, कई तरह के काम हाथ में लिए गए हैं और आज बहुत खुशी की बात है कि भावनगर से अयोध्या धाम को जोड़ने वाली नई ट्रेन आज चालू हुई है.
In a fatal road accident, 11 people died on the spot and 4 critically injured in Uttar Pradesh on Sunday. Local residents and emergency teams retrieved the bodies and rescued the injured. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath expressed deep sorrow and announced 5 lakh rupees financial aid for each victim's family. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to social media platform X to express his condolences. He tweeted, and I quote, "Deeply saddened by the loss of lives due to an accident in Gonda, Uttar Pradesh. Condolences to those who have lost their loved ones in the mishap. May the injured recover soon." And an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees from PMNRF would be given to the next of kin of each deceased. The injured would be given rupees 50,000. Operation Akal in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam district has entered its third day on Sunday, with security forces continuing their anti-terror efforts in the Akal Devsar forest area. In the latest updates, security forces have neutralized 3 terrorists so far, while 1 soldier has sustained injuries. Elite para forces, supported by advanced surveillance technology, are spearheading the mission. Senior police and army officials are closely overseeing the operation, which remains dynamic with ongoing exchanges of fire. The area is under a strict cordon as security forces maintain heightened vigilance. Authorities have suspended this year's annual Amarnath Yatra just a week ahead of its scheduled conclusion due to need for maintenance on the tracks that were damaged by recent heavy rainfall. The Amarnath Yatra, a sacred pilgrimage to the holy cave shrine of Amarnath in India's Jammu and Kashmir, has been temporarily suspended from Sunday. As per local officials, the Yatra, which began on July 3rd, was scheduled to conclude on August 9th on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan. However, authorities decided to shorten it by a week, citing critical repair and maintenance works to be undertaken in the wake of heavy rainfall. Due to continued deployment of men and machinery on the tracks of Baltal and Nonman, Pahalgam, the Yatra has been halted. More than 4 lakh people paid obeisance at the holy cave of Amarnath this year. And on to sports now. In a thrilling 5th test at the Oval, India set England a formidable 374-run target, driven by Yashasvi Jaiswal's 118 and Akashdeep's maiden test 50. At stumps on day 3rd, England stood at 50 for 1, with Mohammad Siraj dismissing Zach Crawley, leaving India 9 wickets from victory. With the series tied at 2-1, day 4 promises high stakes as England face a daunting chase, while India aim to clinch a memorable win on English soil. Earlier on day 3rd, India put up a total of 396 in the second innings, led by Yashasvi Jaiswal's 118 and half-centuries by night watchman Akashdeep and all-rounders Ravindra Jadeja and Washington Sundar. Shubman Gill led India need to win this test in order to level the series and retain the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. And DD India's Deepika joins us live on this story. Hi, Deepika. The kind of performance that Team India delivered, in the last test match, and from the way they've come this far, it certainly shows that how the performance and the mindset of the team has changed significantly. And this time around, they now need 324, Deepika. How do you analyze this encounter?
Good afternoon, Siddharth. You said it very right, because this team is a new team when we talk about it. There's a lot of confidence, there's a lot of motivation, and the success rate can be seen being converted onto the pitches, because when we talk about Yashasvi Jaiswal's 6th test century, which is like 4 against England, 1 against West Indies, 1 against Australia, this speaks volumes about the performance of Yashasvi Jaiswal. And not only this, the 50th, the 50 mark, the half century done by Akashdeep yesterday was also a very remarkable one, because you would remember that the current coach Gautam Gambhir, who's also been a very celebrated cricketer so far, he's also not been able to score a 50 against England in the test match format so far, and Akashdeep doing it yesterday was really a lot of pressure on Team England. And not only this, the kind of performance we saw down the batting order with Jadeja and Washington Sundar, the night watchman, becoming the nightmare for Team England.
Yeah, Deepika, he's not a night walker, he's a night hawker. we must say that.
Right, indeed, Siddharth, when we talk about it, so the batting order is something that England is really worried about, that what exactly Team India is doing. Correct. They were not expecting. However, this is a sort of deja vu for Team England because what we saw in Headingley, what we saw in Edgbaston, they've been chasing such sort of runs, but today is not the day, because chasing at Oval means something really different. And when we talk about it, Team India has currently an upper hand. They are at the pole position against Team England when we talk about it, and we are also expecting the match to get over on day 4 itself, but also this is not all, the grass is always not greener on Team India side, because the 4th and 5th day the pitch has got a bit flatter, and we are expecting some sort of assistance that the batters will get here, and Joe Root is yet to come. However, we saw that what Mohammad Siraj did yesterday, ending the partnership, the initial partnership, which was very much crucial for Team England, that has been broken straight away at 50 for 1 for Team England yesterday itself on day 3. So day 4 they start with a bit of shaky start, but the first 90 minutes will spell the entire cast out for Team England and how they are moving forward in the current and ongoing series.
You're absolutely right, Deepika, I agree with you, but what good thing which has happened to Team India is that the bowling conundrum has ended, and the way they are bowling, it's incredibly well. We hope more and more see celebrations today, like we did on the last ball of the day yesterday, when Mohammad Siraj sent Zach Crawley to the dressing room. So let's hope the match ends on the 4th day itself.
Yeah, indeed, we are hoping for that, of course, Siddharth. And there were questions about 3 seamers and how why we are not having a 4th fast bowler. But yes, the captaincy will have its answers, and the critics will have its answers after the first 90 minutes of the day when we begin with the next session.
Hope for the best, fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Deepika. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.